Hi, welcome to Prog Will Find a Way. I'm Jonathan Block.
And I'm Jay Valade.
And today, Jay, we have some sad news, unfortunately, to share. We'll start off with that. I'm sure anyone who's watching or listening to this has already heard that Pete Sinfield passed away. I think it was November 14th, 80. So, obviously hugely influential as probably one of the, if not the top prog, I guess, lyricists that people would always put him in the top five.
Yeah. So those who don't know, Pete Sinfield, original King Crimson roadie.
Lights
in the whole thing, and then did all the lyrics for the first four Crimson albums.
And actually contributed some lyrics. Robert asked him to redo the lyrics for Schizoid Man for the starting before the 2014 tour to bring them up to date, which is why the lyrics were
adjusted.
They went, at least for the first couple of tours, like what that we saw, they were definitely adjusted, but I think they kind of went back to the original ones after a while.
But then he went on to work with Greg Lake a bit, Emerson, Lake and Palmer,
Carnival 9.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
Pirates. I mean,
little things on the side too. I mean, I think he did Run with the Fox with Chris Squire and Ellen White, but then he went on to writing for Celine Dion and
Cher,
some more
Bucks Fizz. I mean, he got more into the pop end of things.
Yeah. He also had a singular solo album.
Yeah, which we have up here. Interesting album. I definitely of its time and kind of has an interesting mood. The cover, the packaging is great. The songs are good. I mean, he would freely admit this too.
It's a full gatefold sleeve.
Full gatefold sleeve.
For those who are watching and not listening, here it is.
Crimson-esque,
very
tight faces and everything on Manticore.
It feels a lot like the Lizard Zone.
Right, and of course the players, so many of the players. I mean, Mel Collins is on it, Ian Wallace, Boz Burrell is on it. We've got another copy here, John Wetton.
Who else? Keith Tippett.
And
it's like a whole bunch of, it's all the sidemen of Crimson.
That's a good way of putting it. And
I have my Italian version that I bought back in 1984 or something. So it's still on the Manticore label, but it is not the full blown
right
gatefold sleeve and with all the lyrics and everything.
And kind of obviously the Crimson connection with the players, but also I think it's is it The Envelopes of Yesterday? There's some cryptic lyrics that people think are referring to Robert Fripp. And also he does a version of what was the original music and outlook of I Talk to the Wind Under the Sky, which Giles and Fripp did, and that's on the Young Person's Guide, but much faster. This is slower. I kind of like the album. It has a charm about it, and the backing players are great. I mean, it does highlight he's not the strongest vocalist, but
Greg Lake backs him up on a couple songs.
Well, that's the thing. I give him props, and I always have, the fact that a lot of people wouldn't do something like that when they knew all the other players around them were stronger. He didn't care.
This was his
thing,
his moment.
And I mean, some of the songs, Under the Sky, I really like. The last song, Night People, is amazing.
Yeah, I found that the album I listened to it for the first time in probably 30 years. Over the past couple days, and I found that the album got stronger as it went on.
Totally, yeah.
Those last couple songs I thought were the best songs on the album.
Yeah, and I mean, it's of its time. No, you couldn't get away from that. Oh, we should not neglect to mention he was the producer of the first Roxy Music album.
Right. Yes. Which is a big deal.
It's a big deal. I mean, Roxy was signed to EG Records, which was... we got a Prog cat here. They tapped him. That would have been right at the end of the Crimson thing.
Yes, but it's very interesting because everybody gives that Roxy album such high marks. Yep. And it's not very Crimson-y.
Not at all.
And it's so... out there from its stylistic movements, that I found it always interesting that he was the producer, because it didn't seem like it was up his alley from a music standpoint. But I guess it was.
It must have been,
You know?
and
or maybe he was just the wrangler.
he could have been the wrangler. More of kind of setting up the scene for them to do. I mean, it doesn't sound like any other Roxy.
Okay.
It doesn't sound like any other Roxy album. I mean, they immediately on the second For Your Pleasure, it's just like a step up studio wise. So, and also good. Let's not forget Brian Ferry did audition. Come on, boo. But Brian Ferry did audition for King Crimson, and apparently there is a tape. Fripp has a tape, but no one gets to hear it. So. Well, Elton John was booked to do it too.
Yes, I know.
But we're getting a little afield here.
This is,
I mean,
the mysteries of Crimson singers.
Mysteries of Crimson. The other thing that was interesting was, when you look at the lyrics, he kind of changed, obviously. I find his lyrics, definitely on the first 3 Crimson albums, amazing. Some of the ones on Islands, it's a little like Letters. Sorry, people, I'm not a fan of those lyrics. Ladies of the Road's a little offbeat occasionally, and the lyric to music ratio on Islands is very small compared to all the other albums.
Yeah. The Lizard ones are the most dense.
Yeah,
I mean constant verse. I mean, obviously, all the Crimson lyrics are. There's a lot of them on those first 2 albums, but then
there's a lot of words.
That first side of Lizard is very dense with lyrics.
Oh, totally. And I mean, if I had to pick my favorites, it would probably be the In the Wake of Poseidon lyrics, the song, and Circus. I think they're amazing lyrics. But I like the first side lyrics.
But I like the first album lyrics.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, those have lived on, right? The Epitaph and Schizoid Man. I mean, some of them very telling in their own. Obviously of their time in the late 60s, but still a lot still relevant today. And of course the Court of the Crimson King lyrics was people were not that's the thing. People excuse me, you can talk about like who started Prog and all that, but he was really the first one doing kind of what we would consider that classic era Prog lyrics, right? I mean, who was he had the Moody Blues, but
the Moody Blues had that moment because of their spoken word stuff that they were doing. Right. It all kind of had that a little bit more scholastic feel to it.
It did, but he kind of took it to
another
level. I think not as much on the first, because if you think about Schizoid Man, it's like 3 verses. That's it. Right. I Talk to the Wind.
Same epitaph too.
Thing. You get into it when it's Court, right? The Court of the Crimson King. And there's a lot of lyrics, and then I take it back. Pictures of a City, I think, are amazing lyrics too. So, but yes, they're very dense on Lizard. But rest in peace, Peter. Thanks for. They'll live on. I mean, his stuff is so integral to that original. Even if it was just the first album, right? He knew the guy. He found the cover. Yeah. He named the band. He did a lot of. He was a huge part. And they say, I mean, he was the 5th member.
Absolutely.
At the beginning. So.
Yeah, I don't want this to become a new segment for us, the R.I.P. segment.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Unfortunately,
we're getting on in years, and all those folks are too. So,
so I think that the rest of the episode will just cover some news.
Yeah. So you've got.
I got a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, I have some show and tell stuff. So if we hit the Steven Wilson button first, Steven Wilson has a new album coming out. I'm not sure when it's coming out. But he just did a listening party for it. It's called The Overview, and it is...
Did you listen?
I did. No, he did it in London, like an Atmos mix in person.
Oh, in person, yeah. Okay.
It's a 2-song, 42-minute Prog extravaganza. No, I think that it's like once, as if it was an album.
Oh, actually, that's good. So 20 minutes, 20 minutes. So he's going Prog.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we'll see.
Oh, wow.
He's got a tour happening over in Europe.
Does it have a title yet, or the album?
That the album is called the Overview.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So, interested to hear that. I don't think I've seen anything for pre-orders or anything like that, because he's typically got a full marketing campaign behind everything.
And doesn't he, like the last one, release songs at a time kind of thing?
He did, but I don't know that he'll do it with this, because there's only two.
They're huge. But comparatively to other people, he's pretty prolific, right?
Absolutely.
I remember just talking about the other album. We have the annoying Prog cat today.
Yeah. So the other thing on the Steven Wilson front is that Porcupine Tree has just released a box set of Fear of a Blank Planet. Now it's a 5-disc thing with the original album, Nil Recurring, which was like an EP that they put out, then an album or a disc of outtakes. And then there's, I think, 2 Blu-rays with videos and interviews and all this kind of stuff.
Wow.
Now, I brought a bunch of things here just because at this point, I don't know. I've got the vinyl.
Do you have the box kind of spread out across all of these things?
Well, no, because there's new things on the box.
So
I have the vinyl, which my kids got me for, I think, Father's Day this year.
Nice.
So, the double vinyl, which is great, with gatefold sleeve and everything. I have the original album when it came out, which came with a 5.1 surround sound disc as well, but it's just the album, right, with a little booklet and
no Atmos mix though. At that
not
point.
Yet. This was back in 2000, whenever it was, 7 or something like that. 2004. I can't.
Seems like yesterday.
So then Nil Recurring came out right after that. 2007. So Nil Recurring came out right after that, and that was a 4-song EP, basically.
But
from the same sections.
Okay.
And everything. So stuff that didn't fit on the original album.
Okay.
But then I got the DVD audio as well, which includes, extra stuff on it. So it's got the whole album, it's got the Nil Recurring on it, and then it has video material, one live song, a short film about the album, and then a promo video. So I'm like, do I really? When I've got all of this stuff, do I need that extra stuff? But the new box comes with a 112-page book and the whole thing.
Now, is it an anniversary? What's the?
I don't know. They've been slowly but surely going through the Porcupine Tree catalog, especially the Atlantic Lava years, and putting them out. They did Dead Wing, they did In Absentia, and so now they've done Fear of a Blank Planet. So.
Maybe wait
for
it
might
good
it
deal.
Might be in my Christmas list.
Well, the other thing is that it'll be again, right? I mean, this isn't going to be the end.
I know, but it's got
I know.
It looks like a bunch of stuff. They've got a concert on there of them like rehearsing the material in concert. Like Porcupine Tree doesn't typically do that.
Yep.
Come out with or go out on the road with the new material, putting stuff out. But they did film this particular concert that they did that. There's a 40-minute documentary with a new one that they just did with all the band members. I don't know. I haven't seen it because I don't have it. But so that's all happening. Okay. And so on that note, there's also a King Crimson 50th anniversary of Red box set that's out.
Yes. And there's so that I believe is 2 CDs and 2 Blu-rays.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So you get obviously the album, you get instrumental mixes, you get what they call the elemental mixes, which is just different mixes that
so I listened to the elemental mix,
and the elemental mix is actually available streaming.
Right.
So
I thought it was pretty cool.
Oh, I thought it was great. Yeah. I mean, I can't say I prefer it except Starless.
Yeah.
Seriously. No, that makes to me it's a brand new Starless, and I like it a lot. And it makes me realize what annoyed me so much about Starless is the wood blocks. Through that middle section is the part that always kind of got me, because it just kind of went on, and I just didn't think it was going anywhere. Now that they stripped the wood blocks away, there's actually a lot of other percussion-y things going on. Yeah. So just the way they did that mix, they have a bunch of horns at the beginning, and then more horns when there were horns. But and they have that little percussion bit, which highlights all the cool percussion sounds. So I just think it breathes more. I totally prefer this new mix of Starless. That's my.
I'll have to give it another listen to really weigh in on that. But
yeah, the other ones
I enjoyed it, but I didn't have an anti-Starless
bias. I came with the anti-Starless bias. Well, the other songs are good too. There's little things here, and I mean, Red doesn't sound too different. There's a count in at the beginning, and then I think there's a couple of other parts highlighted. But for me, Starless was the big aha moment. So
that I did order, so
excellent.
We will have a review of that,
we'll
or
have
at least
a listening party.
Yeah, in a future episode.
Oh,
back
totally.
to Steven Wilson though.
Yes.
He last year at Christmas time he did a Christmas single, which was at the urging of a friend of his who said you should do a Christmas single. He goes, have you heard my music? I'm not a Christmas single kind of guy. And he goes, how about if I
Keith Emerson did a Christmas album. You've got Phil Manzanera and Andy McKay, the Players. Come on.
I know, but
he did.
Have you listened to Porcupine Tree?
Yes, I have.
And their lyrics.
I know
it's not Christmas forward, but so his friend who was urging him said, well, I'm going to have AI do the lyrics in the style of Steven Wilson. And he did that, and he wrote the song, and they did a whole video, and
that's
the whole
funny.
Thing. So,
and that's what he used. Those AI lyrics.
So he released it last year, like just streaming and on YouTube with the video. But now he's doing a 7-inch single vinyl,
nice,
and a CD single. So
nice.
Those of you who are Christmas music aficionados can search that one out.
Keep an eye out for it.
Yes.
Okay. And we've got other.
What else do I have on my list?
Here on your list.
Yeah.
More show and tells.
Yeah. So Marillion, the Marillion weekend that I went to last year, although it has not been put on film, they did basically the same weekend in Port Zeeland, which is in the Netherlands.
Yep.
And they had previously released one show. It's 3 nights, so they released 1.5 nights on a Blu-ray, and then they just released the second half.
Okay, so now it's
an hour before it's dark, and then the first half of the second night, I guess, or the third night, and then this is the Friday, which was the Saturday night show, and then this is the Friday night show and the second half of the Sunday.
Would you have
show.
preferred one whole package thing?
I would have, but
yeah, it's because they split. When they're splitting.
Yeah, it to me, and for all I know, they're going to eventually put it all together.
Right.
But it's a nice memento of the shows that we saw, even though we weren't at that particular show. But it's the same set list.
And you're going next year, right?
We are going next year. Good. We are planning on it. Yep.
Nice. Okay.
Montreal again.
Be interesting to see what they do.
Yes, because they're going to split it up a little differently. I think they
Really?
decided that they don't like to do the 3 nights in a row. It's too taxing.
It's too much.
Them.
Yeah.
So they're working on a 2-night with a 3rd night of either other bands or like a Q&A or some sort of event.
Interesting.
But you have to still buy the 3 nights.
Of course. That's okay. That's okay. You want to support the band.
Maybe we'll have to send a note to Lucy, their manager, and see if she'll give us 15 minutes.
We would love that. I mean, we should probably know too. I mean, connected, right? The Fish is doing his final tour.
Oh.
So recently, the remaster for Vigil and Internal Exile came out.
Yeah.
They did a good job, I thought, and the extra is always nice. A lot of that is streaming. So I think it was pushed off, so he's doing some shows now where he does Vigil and other stuff, and then I think at the beginning of next year, 2025, is the end. At least he's saying, he's not going to tour anymore. So,
wow.
So, but Marillion's still going strong.
Still going strong. I think they're in the studio or they're working on a new album.
Great.
But I think Steve Hogarth's got some Christmas dates.
Okay.
They might have some. Whenever they're not around here, I don't pay as much attention to their touring schedule, and they don't tour over here ever anymore. So it's just paying attention to when the the weekend is going to be.
But you would know by now if an album was coming out before
right.
the weekend.
Sure. Yeah.
Maybe they'll play some new song. Do they do that? Do they ever?
They don't usually highlight
Premiere
new songs,
new
but I
stuff?
mean, if they might a song or two, but I don't know.
Okay.
That, it's not like part of their regular.
The way they regularly do it. Okay, so they don't road test stuff like that.
So
necessarily.
that was that. Then Rick Wakeman.
Rick Wakeman, Yes Sonata is actually was released. Yes Sonata is the King Arthur medley. There's a
On the back.
Yeah.
It's on the back because he did release it on vinyl.
On vinyl. It's also available streaming. It's got a Roger Dean cover, right? Yep.
And he says it's a new Roger Dean cover, but it looks familiar. So I'd have to go back to my Roger Dean books and see.
My question is the Yes Sonata actually something that stays the same, or does he just call it the Yes Sonata? And because you saw him live, and did he do it?
So we saw, I saw him live about a month ago, I guess it is. And it was fantastic. A grand piano and then a small keyboard setup. And he would just go back and forth, telling stories as he's moving through it. And he played the Yes Sonata on the piano. He said it does, he went through in the studio. It's about 25 minutes. I don't know exactly the length of it.
It's
in that zone.
22,
right?
20 plus minutes, I think is the best
so
way
and he just does a whole kind of walk through the Yes catalog, mainly the stuff that he worked on. There's not a lot outside of his time period that's on there. But it weaves in and out. The themes come in and out, and it's so I think that he does play around with it a little bit on stage.
Yeah.
But it's a 20-minute song, so the first time I heard it was at the concert.
Okay.
So when I heard it, 3 weeks later when it finally started streaming, I couldn't recall every
Well, then there's bits in there where I can't tell what it is. I can't tell what
that he's
song
just
it
kind
is.
of he's kind of
from one to the other. It starts with an awakened moment and ends with an awakened moment.
Yes.
And there's obviously I liked it.
Oh, I like it a lot.
I like it a lot, except what and I know he has to do it, but the roundabout section just kind of seemed a little jarring to me, whereas everything else flowed.
Yeah.
But some of it is
it's great. And he said he put it together specifically for this tour that he's on. And so then he released it, and it's on vinyl, but it's also, I think you get it on CD and it is streaming, so you can take a listen.
Excellent.
But, I always like a full-size Roger Dean album cover, so
So you got the vinyl?
I did not yet.
Oh,
but,
but you are.
I don't know.
It's on a list. Is it on a list?
Yeah.
Santa.
I'll just keep watching to see if it. It was very pricey at the show. It was like $50.
Well, maybe Santa will bring it.
Yeah,
$50 for a vinyl?
Yeah.
How much is it online? Like 30?
32.
32. Well, still okay. Yeah. Wow.
So we'll see.
And
then Record Store Day is coming up. The Black Friday. You said you might want to go, but that's coming up.
Okay.
And I think we were talking on a previous episode that there's a Yes record there, and then Tony Levin's album is available on vinyl for it as well.
We never talked about that Tony Levin song. What was it?
The Barbershop Quartet. The drummers.
That's a great one. Yeah. And then there was I don't think he did a video, but there was something online. I don't know. It's just the Bill Bruford it sticks in my head. Maybe they use that for something. But
for those of you who don't know, Tony Levin has a new album out, and it's we talked about it in the past, but it's kind of a roller coaster ride because he's got all these guests on it. So he's got some really mellow stuff, some rock stuff, and then he does this one thing about all the drummers he's ever worked on with, where he does like a barbershop quartet with just saying the names in like rhythmically, and I was like, when is Bruford gonna show up? And then all of a sudden it just like takes over this.
I know. It is cool. It's cool. It's very clever what he did.
It is.
And it's way cleverer than the King Crimson barbershop thing.
Yes. So this is he's just using the names as a rhythmic device.
Yeah, I mean he's still
singing
it. It's
all.
great.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's great. So
a lot of fun.
Yeah, so is that it for the news?
I think that.
Think
Well,
that's it
there's
for now.
new
A
album.
couple of more new releases. We forgot.
We had Frost has a new album out, and Pineapple Thief has a new EP.
I listened to the Frost.
So did I. I liked it.
I liked it too, and I wasn't really that familiar with them.
Okay.
I
Well,
did.
John Mitchell is like on
Well, of
everything.
course, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so which might be my only problem with the Frost albums is that John Mitchell is on a lot of things, so I can't tell them apart sometimes. That's not a bad thing,
right?
It's still good music. It's just I wouldn't necessarily. And I'm sure there are Frost fans that are like, of course it's different, but I don't.
Right, and I think it's a double. It's
as a kind of peripheral.
Oh,
listener.
totally. And then Pineapple Thief has a
As
EP.
an EP, yes.
Yeah, I listened to some of it. I'll be honest. At first, I was like, "Is this new stuff, or was this taken from the existing album?" You know, it's the same vibe.
Same vibe. They're not. Sure. To me, it's actually a little more mainstream.
Yeah.
In some of the songs, to me, but it's not a heck of a lot different than their previous work.
They made a choice.
If you like the Pineapple Thief, you will like.
If you like their last album, you'll definitely like the EP because same vibe for sure.
Yeah.
So, all right.
I think that's about it.
Yeah. Well, next news time, we'll report back on a record store day.
Yes.
All right. Well,
Prog will find a way.
If you want it to.